I got sent to NASA for our first meeting with NASA, and there's like 30 NASA people there, and just me. Oh, I guess I really am in charge. You may work for Elon, who is, top in the world at being able to amass money and push innovation, but the people that he hires, he really does trust.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode. We are back, guys. I'm your host, Sean Kelly, with my co-host, Wayne Lewis, today.
What up, what up?
And our guest today, Vince Peters.
What's up? How's
all the way in from Miami, right?
Yeah, I just got in.
Hell yeah. Man, you're very mysterious, I will say. I was on your Instagram. Couldn't quite figure out what you do, but love a brief description.
So I'm an AI researcher. Have a real estate fund, and overall technologist and artist. That makes sense. Kind of a Renaissance person. Or man.
Wow.
Yeah.
So all that art on your page was your art? You made all that?
Yes.
Wow.
I have art gallery. Started doing hyper realistic art with some guys who now work with James Cameron. And it just took too long. So then, I just started to do like really raw neo-expressionist type art. And I kind of like that more so than the hyper-realistic stuff.
Yeah, and you've had big success in the art space. I feel like that's a tough space to crack, but you've been able to it.
It is. I got lucky. I came in right at the end of the crypto bull run.
Yeah.
And transitioned some of those digital collectors over to like in real life collectors. And it's been a good run.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you went from actually working at SpaceX to doing that, or you were doing them both at the same time?
I was at SpaceX, and my kid's mother has a cousin who was telling me to buy Bitcoin when it was like $300.
Dang.
And then he was like, "Yeah, you should buy it. It's like 1,000." And then you should buy it. It's like 3,000. I'm like, man, if I didn't buy it at 300, I'm not buying it now.
Right.
And as it was approaching like 50, 60,000, he was like, "Hey, you should really look at this crypto thing,
right.
decentralized finance." And I'm like, "All right, I'll take a look." So I looked, and I thought it was all, made up, and I thought it was a bunch of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
But then I realized the opportunity of decentralized finance. Started my own token. We did really well. We're still doing pretty well. And that created opportunity for me to leave SpaceX in 2022. I tried to leave in 2021, but they wouldn't let me leave.
What were you doing at SpaceX?
I was the lead for information assurance and compliance for all of SpaceX, but the main program I was working was the commercial crew program, sending astronauts to the International Space Station.
Wow.
For a while, we were relying on Russian Soyuz. And then with Boeing, they have a company called United Launch Alliance. They were getting their engines from Russia. So some folks lobbied Congress and was like, "Hey, we need to send astronauts to the International Space Station with only American-made ships," right?
Right.
And then SpaceX became a leader in that. And then we sent astronauts with the commercial crew program in NASA's International Space Station.
Wow.
So I led that effort from information compliance and assurance standpoint.
So you were working with Elon?
I was working with NASA while working for Elon. Yeah.
That's
Did you
crazy.
ever meet him or not?
We have some very strict non-disclosure agreements, but as part of my onboarding, essentially, you go there, you're hired for a job. It's like you have. So I'm older. I'm 41. So I was 38 when I went. So there's not a lot of 30-year-olds. There's a lot of 20-year-olds. The older guys like are in charge of a program or like something very specifically. So my initial meeting was with my boss, and I saw that my boss was talented in other things that wasn't information compliance and assurance.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, "Hey, if you need anything, let me know." And I really didn't believe, we've all worked places, you always have somebody looking over your shoulder. So my onboarding meeting, got to meet the man, right? And I got sent to NASA for our first meeting with NASA. And I'm expecting, other people are going to come in from SpaceX, from all over, from Houston and from Cape Canaveral in Florida.
Yeah.
And there's like 30 NASA people there and just me.
Wow.
And I'm like,
Shout out to the Hustle Daily Show, guys. Part of the HubSpot network, which is the audio destination for business builders. The Hustle Daily Show is your daily dose of business, tech, and news, and they got original stories which keeps you in the loop on what's trending in the business world. It's very important to stay up to date on what's trending, guys. Right now, obviously, crypto's hot. There's tons of opportunities there. They have over 3 million young readers on their daily email, and it keeps you in the loop on what's going on, like I said earlier. And they now have a daily podcast called The Hustle Daily Show, where their team of writers break down the biggest business headlines in 10 minutes or less. In today's modern age of no one having an attention span, that makes it easy for everyone. They do deep dives on topics like how a man won the lottery 14 times and why it's nearly impossible to buy a modern day Bob Ross painting. I checked out a few episodes. They recently did one on 3D printing houses, which I thought was super interesting. Search for the Hustle Daily Show in your favorite podcast app, guys, like the one you're using right now. Now here's the show.
I guess I really am in charge. So
That's crazy.
Ever since then, it was truly being at SpaceX was actually really a truly freeing experience where it's like, hey, you are top in the world at what you do. You may work for Elon, who is, top in the world at being able to amass money and push innovation. But the people that he hires, he really does trust.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to be looking over your shoulder. He's going to have to do your job. You're probably going to get fired.
Wow.
So.
And you were at Starlink too, right?
Right. So you have SpaceX, which we call is like the top 1% of the workforce in the world. And then the top, let's say 5% of that 1% was at Starlink.
Damn.
And we rolled that out. That was part of the rollout
That's
in,
crazy.
in Canada, North America, parts of Europe.
Yeah. I saw it in my hot tub the other night. I thought it was a UFO.
Oh, you saw.
I didn't know what it looked like. I posted it. I'm like, I just saw UFO, guys. Everyone was like, that's Starlink, dude.
Yeah,
I'm like,
Starlink. It's just a mesh of 2,000 satellites in lower Earth orbit that you can move with the computer.
Yeah. So what's the point of putting that up there in space?
In 2023, a lot of people don't have really good internet service. Like, I mean, we have first world problems, right?
Right.
I mean, we can go with Verizon, Sprint, or whatever, right? A lot of in remote places, there's not. So you have two different orbits. You have geosynchronous orbit, which is like way out there, and you put a satellite up there, and that's like HughesNet. So that moves in the same, let's call it geographical location with the Earth, right? Mm-hmm. That path of which the data has to travel is far. Mm. You have lower Earth orbit, which is shorter than geosynchronous orbit, and that's where all the Starlink satellites are. Mm. So if you have an area where there's like an emergency or like a war in Ukraine and you don't have internet coverage because, the Russians just blew up your communications infrastructure, the whole idea is to be able to move those satellites to where it's required.
And he ended up doing that during that war, right? Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so that's I was part of, if you look back in time, I was there from 2018 to 22. There was a couple of times where those satellites were moved and people had no idea how people were communicating. Yeah, that's
crazy. So you could literally move it remotely.
Yeah,
dude. Oh, that's crazy.
So
I never even knew that.
Yeah, so that is some of the stuff that we were working on a daily basis.
I always assumed satellites were just you send them up and they're stuck there. You know
right?
What I mean?
Yeah, I thought that too. So they're controllable.
Yeah, they're absolutely controllable. Yeah.
Wow.
As probably the largest. Other thing is the largest surveillance network in the world.
Oh yeah, they see everything up there. I bet.
Yeah. So working with the top 1%, that means from an IQ level, you're a genius up there.
Yeah, I would say I'm up there. I guess, and here's one of the things that I always talk about, because you say I'm like a bit of a mystery, right?
Yeah.
I don't talk because there's like standard deviations of genius. And if you're not within that standard deviation of genius, you're talking to somebody, you're like, I have no idea what the hell this person's talking about. Mm-hmm. So unless someone is really in that standard deviation or seeing things that I've seen, is like, I can come on a podcast and talk, but nobody's going to know what the heck I'm talking about. So it's like, think about this. I think it was Arthur Schopenhauer who said that a talented person can hit a target that nobody else can see. So we're like, oh man, that person's hitting it, or that no one else can hit, right? So I'm hitting this target, that talented person's hitting the target or hitting the shot or, throwing the pass and no one else can like throw, right? Where the genius, hits the target that no one else can see. And that's the difference. Is you got all these people on podcasts and they're talking and telling people, hey, here's how you hit the targets that nobody else can hit. But the genius is sitting back and is like, I'm not even going to tell you what I'm trying to hit because I don't need everybody who's talented trying to hit the same target that I'm hitting.
Wow.
So while I'm trying to hit it, I ain't saying
Yeah, so you're
like,
moving in silence.
I'm just moving in silence. And then the next day, you know, it's like an event horizon what Stephen Hawking talks about. You're constantly in pursuit of like this goal and time and space, and you never get there. And that's like the idea of the event horizon. But like the genius is like, oh, I want to get there. And when I get past that point in time and space, like it's too late. Like I'm already there. I've already set up the moat. Like you're not coming into this space. I put up all of like the institutional barriers for you to get in. And it's like, yeah, I mean, people who know they got the juice, like they're not talking about it. Like they'll do pop-ups, but they're not every week talking about it.
Billionaires aren't on Instagram or Twitter.
Right.
Yeah, they're moving in silence for sure.
Absolutely.
So what are you working on now that you left SpaceX and Starlink? So
I'm working on making the human experience indefinite through automation and AI.
Wow.
So I have a crypto project, right, which is absolutely about being able to finance these creative endeavors. But I also have a technology. Everyone's talking about large language models and what OpenAI built.
Right.
Like people, when in 2018, my passion project has always been this AI thing, right? 2018, I was like, hey, I'm building a content management system to integrate with ChatGPT or GPT-3. People are like, oh yeah, this guy's insane. Like, he's from another planet, right?
Right.
But now the consciousness of people has like evolved. And like we've gotten closer to understanding like that standard deviation of what is GPT, what is a large language model. Now it's like, oh, this guy's been working on this for 5 years. Like what he was building was more advanced than what ChatGPT is now, right? So I have a model, a large language model, and I have a large language LLM chain that I'm able to prompt not just a singular language model, but multiple language models. So think about being able to, in the near future, prompt a room that has the cognitive architecture of Elon, the cognitive architecture of Einstein. I mean, I have in my computer out there, like a LLM, a large language model. It believes it's Einstein.
So you could literally talk to Einstein.
You can talk to Einstein. It's slow because he thinks. He has to like think and he creates responses.
Wow.
But like this is the world I'm living in. It's like for us to solve future problems, these are the types of technologies that individuals need to be working on.
Yes. What made you what made you even want to do that? Like what was the thought process that went into like this is what I'm going to create?
Oh, so I said earlier that my goal is an indefinite extension of the human experience via automation and AI. The issue is we in this room, we don't have enough time. Machines, on the other hand, are unbound by time. So I can create a simulation in which we can have 10,000 years worth of conversation in a fraction of a second.
Wow.
Now I can really figure out, right?
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
I have to build that technology to be able to do those things and to create those simulations, right? I mean, with figuring out how to extend life, right? We have on the end of our DNA these things called telomeres, right? And based off of your, let's call it your nurture, right? Like the environments that you've been in. If you've been in like a coal or working in a coal mine, like at some point you're gonna start producing like cancerous cells in your lungs, right? Or you smoked or whatever, right? If you can reprogram those telomeres, right? And you can get those telomeres to go into, like, as I said, an event horizon where they don't deteriorate, you essentially stop aging. Now, the issue there is that once you stop that telomere from degrading, you have uncontrolled cell growth, which is essentially cancer, right? But if you can stop that and stop the uncontrolled cell growth, like you can kind of like put a person in like suspended animation where they don't age.
Wow.
So that's like some of the things that I'm thinking through and like, hey,
Jesus Christ.
I went to SpaceX to validate myself against the top one and top, percentage of that 1%. Is like, okay, I'm smart.
Yeah.
I can, I'm just as smart as these people. I've like had more world experience and I can maneuver them. But I gotta build these machines that can think about these things and get us to this next evolution of mankind and like who we are and who we're meant to be.
I love that, dude. Because
Wow.
there were some geniuses back in the day, and now we can be mentored by them.
Yeah.
And mentored by them. I mean, if you got somebody who's a beast, who's like really kicking in the financial space,
Yeah.
they die, right? It takes like 2 to 3 generations for wealth to dissipate in these families.
Right.
Imagine having that person around all the time and being able to give them fresh information. Hey, there's a new thing called crypto. Hey, there's this new thing called decentralized finance. Hey, there's this, there's large language models. And then having that person to be able to continue to advise you. Like what we're building has a commercial aspect, and then it has a individual aspect.
So where does the information come from?
From you.
Wait, how? What do you mean?
So
if I'm talking to this entity, where is the entity getting the information from?
Okay. So we populate the database with experiential data on the individual. So 2019, I made a model. 2019, I had these ideas. I was working with one of Will Smith's lawyers, and the idea got back to Will Smith, and he's like, "This is crazy." Everything that we're looking at from a familiar standpoint, the Smith family is about posterity, how to impart wealth and knowledge into future generations. If you can do this is it. So we were looking for ways to collaborate. And prior to his father passing, he had a terminal illness. They cataloged about 17 hours of video and just questions and information on the father. And I said, hey, just give me the data. Like, I've built the systems. Like, I'm not I'm not the guy who's like, oh yeah, here's the PowerPoint. I'm not doing a PowerPoint. The system exists. Give me the data. I'll show you how it works. They gave me the data within about 6 weeks. 3 to 4 weeks was just cleaning up the data and organizing it. Like, you had a model of Will's father that you could talk to.
Wow.
That had like
could have a full conversation.
Full conversation.
And is this text or video?
Video.
No way.
Yeah, it's video. Well, I mean, because he had the video, right?
Wow.
And they weren't open responses. They were responses from like the 16 hours of video. But we built the model and that, like, you could say, hey, when were you born? And then the other thing where I probably like a vanity project. I was like, hey, people see Tony Stark as like the most intelligent being in like the Marvel universe.
Right.
And he created Jarvis.
Right.
I'm going to create Jarvis in real life.
Yeah.
So I took that model and then I built another model, the LLM chain, the large language model in corporation with another.
Are you interested in coming on the Digital Social Hour podcast as a guest? Well, click the application link below in the description of this video. We are always looking for cool stories, cool entrepreneurs to talk to about business and life. Click the application link below, and here's the episode, guys.
And so you can talk to Will's father and say, oh yeah, I was born in 19, blah, blah, blah. And then you can say, hey, Jarvis, what was going on in the world and at this time period? And Jarvis be like, hey, a gallon of milk costs 40 cents. A house costs $60, you know?
Wow.
And I started looking at this and I'm like, oh, wow, like nobody's going to understand what the heck this is. But I understand what this will be in like 2025, 2026. Like,
wow.
My fortune is going to change dramatically.
Wow.
I'm already okay, but I'm gonna be like beyond okay, right?
Yeah.
That's insane, man. He's about to change the world. With this.
Yeah. He told me some piece about it, but never in depth.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
no, this is mind-blowing, man.
Yeah.
This will change the education system.
Absolutely. I mean, the real thing is, hey, with the AI projects, it's not just the commercial and the governmental application, right? I'm building a place called Destination Inheritance, right? And you go there and you like pick what time frame you want to go to. And everyone who is alive at that point in time in the world, like, you can schedule appointments with you. You want to go chill and watch Napoleon be, coronated as the ruler of Europe, go watch that. Like, your kids are never going to forget that.
And you're saying watch it like video?
You're going to watch it and then you have a breakout session where you can like talk to them after.
Bro.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
So to me, it's like, that's the next Disney World.
Right.
That's like where my mind is at. It's like, hey, I needed to put myself in a proximity and a standard deviation of genius to see how someone changes the world with electric cars, with PayPal, with space, with Starlink. And then, okay, I got enough information to go do this myself.
Dude.
So that's where we're at.
That's so cool. I would love to send my kids to something like that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's insane, bro.
Way better than public school.
Yeah.
Speaking
Absolutely.
of school, you graduated from West Point.
Yes, graduated from West Point. I went to West Point's preparatory school.
MIT, right?
Well, no, that was it's called USMAPS.
Okay.
USMAPS, United States Military Academy Preparatory School. It was in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. Now the headquarters of Netflix. Or
Wow.
they got they bought it out and built like a studio over there. And then I went to West Point a year after that. Graduated, got put on medical leave after I graduated. Worked around for a bit. And then over the last 5 years, I did some continuing education. Got graduate certificates from MIT in blockchain application and business innovation, and then one from Oxford in just AI. So yeah, those are my passions. Those are things that I spent money to continuously understand. And people are like, why don't you have houses and all this? Like, I've been building technology. I've been building stacks. I've been building like technological stacks. They're going to like run the future.
Right.
I'll have all the houses and all that, in due time. But right now it's like I need to build it while nobody else knows what I'm building. And then when it's built and people are already like subscribing to it, it's too late.
Delayed gratification. That's what all the successful people do. Yeah. And it's cool to see you have that education background, but you also apply it. A lot of people get good grades, but they're book smart and they can't apply it in the real world.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, honestly, some of the most intelligent people I met at SpaceX were self-trained people. Like there's a gentleman by the name of Matt. I always go to him with my questions. He can tell you anything about the rocket. He can tell you anything about how we network, anything about like our information security. He didn't graduate college. Yeah. Like he's a high school, self-taught software satellite engineer, right? But there's a lot, I had another guy named Noah that worked in information security with us. He left, went to Amazon. He got picked up in Y Combinator, which started OpenAI, right?
Yeah.
He was a hacker, got picked up by the FBI a couple of times.
That's crazy.
Before he finished high school, but he never went to college. So, there are self-taught people. I'm not saying that's like, that's not the way, but there are self-taught people. But then you also have a bunch of people who went to school who are really intelligent, overeducated, and just dumb. Right. And can't apply it to like the real world. Or like, you talk to some of these people in AI who are professors at Carnegie Mellon and you're like, are you going to sell this? Are you just going to research till you retire? So I think I'm like right at that sweet spot where it's like I understand the technology from the database to application layer to like the presentation layer. And I also understand like I got to be able to sell this to somebody. Yeah. And they don't care about the stack. They just want to understand how to use it to get a competitive advantage or to I don't know, just win, whatever they're doing.
And you also have the social skills, which a lot of really smart people struggle with.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Your network, I saw your Instagram, you're chilling with some big names. How did you build relationships there?
Once I started to focus on like my intellect and letting that be the thing, like I don't dress up. I'm in some pretty like exclusive clubs and like everybody's wearing suits, everybody's spending money, and like I'm showing up like this, right? And it's like, it's not about money to me. It's like, I'm probably, any room I go in, is like, I'm probably one of the most like traveled or like intellectually capable people in that room. So if I'm in a room that I'm talking, like I done matter like, hey, this guy's value. Like when I first met you and Wayne met one of my best friends, right? And we talk every day and we don't talk great about people. And we have people who went to West Point, who went to Harvard Business School, who went to Notre Dame and got their masters after West Point. And we don't work with them. We don't do business with them. But after we had dinner with Wayne, like my boy's like, yo, he's value. And I'm like, yeah, he is. Nice. And
appreciate you.
It's like, how do you continue to be valued? Because once you're valued, nobody cares how you dress or what you look like. I mean, we used to have guys at SpaceX walking around and like with their shoes off, right?
For real?
Yeah. And then like you'll go by a guy, right? And he'll be typing at his desk and like he'll have on shorts And he have his feet up on his desk, but they're Uggs, like the furry Uggs. And I'm like, yo.
Dressed like Sean in there, huh?
But it's like, yo, what are you doing? He's like, oh, my feet get cold.
Right.
My feet get cold in the morning.
Right.
That's funny.
And it's like, hey, I mean, I do his best in the world at what he does.
Most other companies would judge that person so hard.
So when you have the government, like the government walk through and they're seeing this, they're like, what's going on here? And it's like, hey, these people are best in the world. Leave them alone. Let them be.
Yeah.
So a lot of that was part of my job, was like to accuse the government, like, hey, we saw Elon on the Joe Rogan show. We don't like people who smoke dope. And it's like,
oh, that was a whole big deal.
that was a mess.
The stock went down like 8% that day, right?
Yes.
That was crazy. Just for smoking weed.
For real?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
everybody smoke weed now.
SpaceX is in California.
Yeah, it's legal.
It's legal. So there was some brinksmanship that went on in that whole process. But it made me better. It made me better understand how to work with the government, sell a service to the government in the face of insurmountable odds. So yeah, it was just a great experience.
I love that. Yeah, I want to talk about 1640 Society. Wayne was mentioning that. I've never heard of it, but it sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I never heard of it before I met him. I was blown away when he told me about it. It's like the highest you can get, right? The elite.
Yeah, it's pretty up there. So
how do you get into it? How do you even get invited to an event in the Hamptons, a 1640 event in the Hamptons? Like, what does that invite look like?
You got to know somebody who's in there, and then you kind of get put in a situation where like you're put in a room with other members, and then they try you.
Oh, they interrogate you.
Like they try you, and like either you're just super wealthy, it doesn't matter, right? Or they're like, oh, we need this person around because we need to understand where to put this family office's money over the next 5 to 10 years, and this person understands the market for the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
So, long story short, in one of my side quests, painting, I did a gallery in Times Square, or I did my Art Basel show last year, which led to me being invited to present in Times Square last year. Ended up being a person who was formerly married to the largest art collector in the U.S.
Wow.
Guy's worth like $9 billion.
Damn.
Jeez.
I connected with his ex-wife, started moving around in her circles. She actually hosted the 1640 get together in the Hamptons in 2021. Just by being close with her, she introduced me to the group. They knew me as an artist. They had their big brain there. That was like this AI guy who was talking about contextually aware large language models. And he was talking about the appropriate data that was required. Because one of the things that they're looking at, even at Tesla, is like how much data is required for like autonomous driving, right? And there's different philosophies in and around that, right?
Yeah.
And I jumped into that conversation. I started to carry that conversation. Right. And they're like, hey, I thought this guy was an artist. And they're like, hey, do you want to join the meetings, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then that was it.
Wow.
So the one in the Hamptons is actually a lot more accessible when they have ones like outside of the country. Yeah. It's a pain to get there. And like, then it's not even by the airport. So the last one I went to, people look at my social media like, oh yeah, this guy's loaded. It's like I wasn't gonna make it. I have my kids. Like I have 2 kids. Like they're my number one priority. And I couldn't go to Guatemala for the first night. And one of the hosts is billionaire. He's like, hey, I'll send a jet for you. And I'm like, I can't. When's the jet leaving? It's like Sunday. I'm like, I got my kids until Monday. So he's like, all right, we'll just fly down and I'll pick you up from the airport. So I'm looking at the map of the airport to where we gotta go. I'm like, oh, that's like an hour and a half drive, right?
Yeah.
So I'm getting text after I land. I'm going through customs. Where are you at? And I'm like, oh, I'm going through. And then they're like, oh, okay. Somebody's gonna walk you through customs and they're gonna bring you here, right, to your ride. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. So like I'm thinking like we're going like in a black car or a van, right? So I get there and like it's a helicopter. And like I don't like helicopters. I've had like dreams about like helicopter. A helicopter crashed on me, like helicopter. Hell, I was in California when Kobe died.
Right? No way.
Yeah. I was actually at Will Smith's house a couple weeks before that.
Jeez.
And Kobe was out there in Calabasas. Like, that's where, like, it wasn't far from Will Smith's house where his helicopter crashed.
Crazy.
But yeah, I see this helicopter and I'm like, So I ended up getting on a helicopter. I mean, you know, it saved me 2 hours in traffic to
Eyes
get there.
closed the whole time?
No. I took out my phone. It wasn't for me. I wanted to make sure I showed my kids, you know, it wasn't for me. But yeah, so it's just like you have that level of access. You have like the chief investment officer for Carlos Slim, right? Dude's worth like $83 billion.
Yeah.
Who's there dancing and eating and like, you know, kicking it, right? You have access to people like that in like a very relaxed and like non-structured environment. And yeah,
what kind of opportunities does being around that caliber of people bring? I know obviously the money, but money is very small to them. You guys hand over, but like what kind of opportunities come from being in a group around like that caliber of people? It's like
to be really wealthy is more of like a familiarity where people are going to be comfortable with who you are as a person, right? Before I did any business, when Will Smith's brother brought me in, like they wanted to understand who I was as a person before they gave me the data on their file. They didn't care about the money. Like, are you a good person?
Right.
So those opportunities, they give you the opportunity to like network with people in a way where it's like nobody knows that we're in Guatemala, right? Or wherever we're at. And it just gives you like a level of like, hey, this person is really chill. So from that opportunity, like Russell Wilson is Sierra's chief investment officer. I had dinner with him. He had a layover in Miami. He's like, hey bro, pick me up. Let's get a beer, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, where are you gonna get where are you gonna get access to something like that? And then he's calling people that I don't know in Miami, like, hey, meet this person. So it helps you like,
right.
You know, oh, if these people aren't connected to these people, like they're probably a waste of time. And then it also causes you to like reevaluate things, right? Where you got people like, hey, I'm gonna send a jet for you. Oh, I'm gonna send a helicopter to pick you up.
You get spoiled.
Well, it's not even being spoiled, but like you'll be, you know, some people, your friends and stuff, right? And they got an excuse. And you're like, man, why am I friends with you? Like, what's the point? Oh, I got a headache, or you know, this happened. I had to
people
work
don't
late.
even know you, and they send you a jet.
Right, and it's like, why are you even why am I giving you access to my energy? I think you're canceled.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's it's been eye opening, in that way to just really, you know, I already understood my intellectual worth, but now it's just like people are often like billionaires way before they actually meet that milestone.
Right.
Wow.
So that's like my villain or like superhero journey is like, I'm understanding that. I'm understanding like, hey, this is energy, or this is the type of energy I need, right? Or the type of people I need around me.
Yeah.
So that being in those environments allow you, you know, so one of the ladies I was sitting next to, she bought the most expensive piece of Art Basel last year. I had no idea who she was, right? And then Russell Wilson's chief investment officer, like, do you know who that was? I'm like, no. Oh, she was married to the original programmer for like the Google search engine. Wow. And I'm like, hold on, let me go Google her. Let me go Google her away, so she doesn't see that I'm Googling her. And I'm like, oh, let me go talk to her again. Right.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
You're just sitting with people like you have no idea who anybody's at. Doesn't matter. Just be respectful and share what you know, and then figure out who people are and go link up with them later.
That's cool. So is becoming a billionaire a goal for you now?
I think being able to move the needle in the way that I see the world is fit, or the future that I see. It requires me to be a billionaire. So it's not a goal of mine; it's a requirement of mine.
Sheesh.
So.
Wow, what a statement! Yeah,
not a goal, but a requirement
to leave the impact he wants.
A bar.
Can't do that if you're broke. So
yeah,
that makes sense. Well, Vince, it's been fun, man. Anything you want to close off with or promote?
No, thanks for having me here. Appreciate it. You guys are doing a heck of a job.
Thank you.
I know we tried to get together and do this last year, and I didn't realize how big of a deal you were.
We weren't last year.
Well, no, you as an individual
person,
in a certain space, because it was we're talking about doing this last year, didn't do it, and my crypto community, like they lost.
Mm.
They're like, oh my gosh, this guy's a liar, and like he doesn't know anybody in that network, and this, that, and the other. And then like I got lawyers, right, who like set everything up. Yeah. And they were like pissed. They're like, oh, we didn't do Sean Kelly start selling the token, and I'm like, I gotta buy these guys out. Like, so I mean, it wasn't like a pressing thing, but like now that we have the technology built, everything is like stabilized. It's like,
so you already knew who he was.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, it's just I didn't realize
crypto's a small world.
I didn't realize how big you were to other people. And then I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are hurt. Like, they want to kill me because I didn't come here. But
we made it happen, man.
Hey, we made it happen. Yeah. Thanks for making it happen.
Thanks for coming, man. Killed it.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks for watching, guys. As always, Wayne and I will see you tomorrow.
Peace.